A Tuesday morning going on here today. Today is 5/5/2020. Bum, 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 bum. And welcome into the show. Carl Gibbons is the president of Third Eye Management in Naples, as well as what he describes as a serial entrepreneur who created and sold 4 multi-million-dollar businesses by the age of 40. He joins us this morning via Clean Feed to talk a little bit about business conditions here in Southwest Florida. Hi, Carl. Good morning.
Good morning, Dave.
Thank you for being here today. First of all, we've just seen in the news 3 iconic businesses, I guess you could say, that are in trouble. Hertz, Gold's Gym, and J. Crew. J. Crew filed for bankruptcy. Gold's Gym has announced it, and Hertz is exploring it. Is this a trend that we can expect to see going forward with your background in business?
Sadly, yes. I'm afraid some of the big names that we've come to know and love over the years are not going to see it to the other side of this pandemic. And one of the reasons for that, Dave, and you alluded to it a little bit earlier on in your show, is that the large companies are very slow to react. They're not nimble. They're not agile. So it's that old dinosaur analogy. You know, it takes 27 hours for the thought to go from the brain to the action.
Right.
And that's why the smaller independent, although having a lot of challenges at the moment, and I don't think there's anybody out there that wouldn't agree with me that it's very challenging at the moment, they actually are in a very good place and stand a much better chance of surviving.
And how can this be? I mean, we think of these businesses, which are household names, as having been around a long time. Now, we were laughing this morning about J. Crew because I can't remember the last time I bought a J. Crew shirt, and I'm thinking there are a lot of people in that boat. But is it that the margins are so thin that they're operating on, that they're so fragile?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. I think it's that, Dave. Also, as well, people have moved from that. They don't just want transactional anymore. They don't just want transactional transactions. Literally, the click, click, done, right? And they want experiential. They want to have an experience when they go shopping. They want theatre in what they do. Because let's face it, you just said you didn't buy anything from J. Crew, and the fact is, you don't need to. You can go online now, and within 3, maybe 4 clicks, you can buy that shirt that you want. And if you're not sure about your size, you buy a size up and a size down, and the well is the one you think you are. It gets delivered to your house within 24 hours if you're that desperate to get it there that quickly. and you try the one on that you like, and you send the other 2 back. It's completely transactional. There was no experience there, and sadly many retailers are falling into that trap over the last few years. I'm not going to say all, but many have, and people don't need it anymore, so they don't need to go out. They don't need, literally, they can stay at home. Nothing has changed.
Do you have any businesses on your watch list that maybe haven't hit the headlines yet?
I think we're going to. I think that the big department stores, frankly, are under sentence.
They're all on the bubble.
They're all on the bubble. Yeah. I think so. And the reason is because literally they're just such behemoths. I think the brand labels themselves will stay. I mean, we're not going to lose them, and I will use Macy's as an example. I don't think we're going to lose Macy's as a brand label. Macy's is an iconic landmark in New York City. We have the Thanksgiving parade. That will stay. I think the Macy's of the future will become much more smaller and specialist shops. So we will have the Macy's menswear shop. We will have the Macy's women's shoe store. I think that's the way that it will go. It will become smaller.
And it's interesting when you go back and look at Macy's. When there were 3 or 4 Macy's. There was one in Los Angeles. There was the one in New York, of course, in Midtown. I think there was one in Chicago. And it was a destination where people went, and those 3 or 4 stores were wildly successful. Then they got the idea, let's go out into the flyover country, let's open everywhere so that everybody can experience the Macy's shopping experience. And they wound up overextending. I mean, when you start looking at JCPenney reported that they missed a multi-million-dollar payment the other day, and that they have billions of dollars in debt. How can a business like that even survive with that kind of debt?
It can't, because it's constantly dependent on its cash flow. It has to have a fresh injection of cash literally every day. The doors have to open. And if the doors don't open, and the doors haven't been open now for 4 or 5 weeks, it's a death knell. It's a death knell.
You were talking about online a minute ago. You are a man who is very involved in technology to accelerate what you call accelerated achievement. Tell us about some of the technology that you are using and what you're recommending to your customers to use, your clients.
Well, data is king. You have to have a very robust data capturing, what I call a CRM package, a customer relationship management package. You have to know who your client is. You have to know who they are, where they are, what they buy, what their preferences are, as much about their background as possible. What books do they read? What magazines they read? What radio stations do they listen to first thing of the morning? Well, that's easy because they listen to this one, right?
Yes.
But you need data. That data then supports a very robust online social media presence. And all the ones that we've come to know and love, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the YouTubes, as well as your website. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the businesses of the future won't have to have a website and have online sales. They will, and it will and that will be very, very strong. But the successful retailers that will maintain the brick and mortar, that will be a support for them, not just dependent upon them. If it's just I come back to this transactional thing. If you are just providing a commodity, then you don't need brick and mortar, and you shouldn't have brick and mortar. Get out of it quick. But if you've got something that is an experience, and a tailor is a good example. You know, we talked about your shirt that you were going to buy online, but if you wanted to have a shirt made or a suit or a jacket made, you need to go to a tailor, and that's an experience, a complete experience.
Although you have technology companies like Proper Cloth that have figured out a way to do that online as well, and I have purchased from them. The other thing that I find interesting is, over the years, brand loyalty has become a thing of the past. You talk about transactional and commodities. The idea of brand loyalty has disappeared too, and isn't that a major factor in why a lot of these iconic brands are disappearing?
It's a part of it, yes, because we now have literally, as I've been saying, at a click, we have everything available to us.
Yeah,
nothing is not out there anymore, and it's not just Southwest Florida. Everything's available to us a click around the globe.
Yeah,
you know, you can buy things today from Hong Kong, China, Australia, London, New York, Paris, all at the click of a button.
So what are you advising your clients to do to weather the balance of this storm?
Well, I'm saying to them, they need to think in these three. Their mindset needs to be, they need to think about the next 2 months, the next 2 quarters, and the next 2 years, because I think that's how long this is going to be with us. I think that they need to look at the 4 R's to recovery. They need to rethink what do they need to change in their business model now. Then they need to retool. What new tools, if any, and we've talked about some of them a little bit earlier in this interview, should they be using? Then they need to redirect. What are the priorities that they're going to focus on going forward? And then they're going to be ready to reboot. And at the moment, I think if they are in a service mode rather than a sales mode at the moment, I think that you're going to be in a much better position when you come out the other side of this.
So service rather than sales right now, because really sales don't exist except where there's need, not want.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
But you must be there to serve.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you on with us today. I've enjoyed this greatly, and we'll maybe check in with you from time to time and see what as things change, how your advice changes, because I'm sure that it will. You're nimble. You regularly work with clients to get growth and build business teams and even build recession-proof businesses. So I know you know what you're talking about, and I appreciate your time today.
It's always a pleasure, Dave.
Thank you, Carl.
To you again.
Carl Gibbons on the Dave Elliott Show. We'll take a break at